I'm giving folks just a second to get online here. Looks like we got one viewer so far, so I'm probably going to give it a few more minutes here for some people to show up. All right. Looks like we got somebody. Hi, David. Thanks for joining us tonight. I was trying to give everybody fair warning. This is my first attempt at Facebook Live, so it's a little it's a little sketchy. Please cut me a little bit of slack. Um, well, figured I'm trying to give people a couple more minutes. Hopefully, it won't be just the three of us. If it is, I'm more than happy to talk to you guys, though. Hmm? 12. Okay, cool. It's just not showing up in the chat room. I told you this is my first time. All right, guys. Thank you very much for showing up tonight. I've been talking about this for a long time, and it's something I'd really like to do to reach out and kind of have a chat with my AFA family across the country. I try to make it to as many events as I can so I can get out there and meet you guys and raise a horn with you in person. That's what I love to do. But there's some of you that I just can't or that I don't see as much as I'd like to. So this is a great opportunity if you guys have stuff you want to ask or whatnot that I can just kind of reach out and talk to you. So been talking about it for a while now and starting now. I really want to do it. Before we really take questions, there's a couple upcoming AFA things and things we've got going on that I wanted to mention to you guys. Thorfest is not upcoming, but my wife and I were lucky enough to attend it, and it was fantastic. I just wanted to thank Jason Plurd for putting it on, and I was so glad to meet the folks out in Colorado and the people who'd come in from surrounding areas. It was cold and it was windy and it was everything I miss about home. So it was really nice to get that chance to hang out with folks and perform the wedding for the Lugnets. That was fantastic, and I was tremendously honored to do that. So yeah, thanks Jason for hosting that, and it's going to be an annual thing. So look forward to that next year if you weren't able to make it. January of 2020 now. Let's look for Thorfest #2, and I'll try to make it out again because I sure had a good time. Next up is, matter of fact, next weekend, Charming the Plow in Texas. Clyde Brown, our folk builder there, is hosting that. This is going to be the first time that we've done an official AFA event in Texas, and I'm really looking forward to it. I know Clyde puts on a heck of a ritual down there and a lot of really good energy, a lot of growth in our AFA membership down in Texas this last year. And I'd really love to go down there, meet those folks, see what they got going on, and be a part of it. I'm looking forward to it. And I hear there's going to be some very spicy chili that I'm going to be challenged to eat some of. So we'll see how I do with that. Also, if you guys can make it, I know it's short notice, but anybody who's close within driving distance, 15th through the 17th in Middle area Texas, come on out if you can. I'd love to see you there. If you can't make Texas, have no fear. You've got more opportunities to go to AFA events. AFA Ostara in the South in North Carolina is going to be going on in March 22nd to the 24th. That's always a great event. It's beautiful. Spring's coming out. It's a beautiful time of year. I would love to see you guys there. Our local folk builders, Spawn Harrell and Paul Hester, are putting that on, along with the help from their Deep South folk builder counterparts. Looking real forward to it. It's going to be great. So yeah, if you guys can make that out, 22nd to the 24th of March, it'd be really good to see. All right. So that being said, this year we've already made a good start. I don't know how many of you are paying attention to the situation going on in South Africa right now, but ethnic Europeans who live in South Africa are being brutally persecuted. There's murders and rapes and robberies. There's government sanctioned seizure of farms and lands that have been some of these people's family for hundreds of years. Once very, very proud people are being brought to their knees, and I want to do the best we can to help them, to help the poverty and the safety issues over there. And every little bit that we're able to do does go a long way. it's been humbling to hear the thanks and the appreciation from the people in South Africa. One, that we're donating and trying to help that way, but two, even that we just care. The fact that we in the AFA, being over here in America, care about what's going on with them when so many of the news media outlets aren't covering it and so much of the world doesn't care, means a lot to those folks. We're off to a great start. If you're interested and you want to help, there's a lot of donation options. If you go to www.runestone.org to our donate page and you want to help us out with that, I know it's something that's very much appreciated. Our folk builder for that region is Cameron Modis, and he's put a lot of heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears in trying to make that work, and he's doing a great job. So thank you for those that have donated, and thank you for those who intend to donate. Another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about while I'm on donations, while I'm asking for you guys money, I'm going to ask you for one more thing. Some of you may know we just paid off Odenshoff out there in California, just over the mountains from me. That's a huge achievement in and of itself, and we couldn't have done it without you guys and the help that you've given us. But that brings us on to our next exciting project. We're going to establish us a second Hoff. We're going to make that happen, and we're going to make it happen a lot sooner than most people think. But how soon depends on if we get the generous support of people like yourselves and people you may know and anybody that wants to help us accomplish it. But we are opening, we're planning, we're scheming, we're trying to make that happen right now. So if you guys can donate, if you go to www.runestone.org, same donate place that I mentioned about South Africa, if you want to donate towards the Hoff Fund, we'll get that project going lightning fast here and make it happen. I'm pretty excited. We've got great things in store. So again, thank you guys. We appreciate your generosity. With that, kind of the point of why we're all here is, you guys have any questions for me? Is there anything you want me to address? Anything you want to know? Anything you guys want to talk about this evening? Told there's a little bit of delay, so I'm kind of waiting for some of that to come through. I appreciate all the little thumbs up going through my screen. That's nice to see. See some familiar faces over in the chat room. That's encouraging. Tiffany, I never get to talk to you. Thank you so much for what you're doing with Votan's Wolves. Blaine and I were just talking about that Monday night, about what a great job you're doing with that. You and Cole have done great with that. Your Votan's Wolves. If anybody listening doesn't know what that is, it's a youth program that Cole and Tiffany Distel started. And so many people talk about that all the time. I've been floating around Asatru circles now for the better part of 20 years, and I've heard wanting to do these youth programs. It's kind of one of those perennial one of these days things. And rather than wait for one of these days, they just stepped up and went out and did it. And they're doing a really, really nice job. So Cole and Tiffany, thank you guys very much. Ooh, my little chat thing's not auto-scrolling. Working out the kinks here and figuring out who else we got saying stuff in the conversation. Where will next Hoff be? Well, that's a good question. I know you guys all want to know. A lot of things to consider. So we don't want to 100% commit until we're ready to actually put something down on a property. But there's a couple of things that we're looking at. In order for us to invest in a Hoff, we need to have a very stable population of active, enthusiastic, and loyal AFA members. Making the investment of a Hoff means we're going to have something that's going to last, hopefully something that's going to last forever there. And so we want to make sure we have a very stable group of people that are going to get the most out of it, going to be able to make use of it, and take care of it the way that it deserves to be taken care of. So one of the things is to have a solid membership group there. The other thing is we need some redundancy on volunteers, kindreds there, people that are going to step up. We don't want it all on one kindred in a location or one volunteer or one local leader. We want, in case somebody falls through or in case somebody gets sick and can't step up, we want a group of people so that a whole community can support it. So those are the things that we're looking for. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. And also it depends on how fast we're able to raise the funds to put the down payment down. So those things all kind of factor into our decision. Thanks, Mitch. I appreciate it. I'm trying my best. Hi, Caleb. Oh, hey, Mark, we got Mark Purrier over here and part of the conversation. Thanks for joining. My wife's telling me we got some guy named Brian Wilton. I guess we're letting everybody in right now. So, hey, Brian. If you didn't check it out, check out Steve's interview with Brian that he did on Tuesday. It was fantastic. Really good conversation, and both men that I have a lot of respect for, and they had a really good talk. So, Steve's Ragnarok and Roll on YouTube. Got a number of people, but nobody's asking me anything. What gives? All right. Well, until you guys do ask me something, or until I get bored here, I want to talk to you guys about what we got upcoming. Ostara in North Carolina. I talked about it at the beginning, but I think we've got a lot of folks that have joined us since then. That's our next. Our next thing is Charming of the Plow in Texas, but that's next week. If next weekend you don't have anything to do and you can make it to Central Texas, please absolutely make it there. Love to see you. And if you can't, next month in March, AFA's Ostara in the South is going on in North Carolina. That's going to be a really nice event. My wife and I are going to be there. We would love to see you. A lot of great people that we, only get to see a couple of times a year are going to be there. We got a lot of people coming up from the Deep South, a lot of people coming down from the Northeast. It's going to be a lot of nice folks. If you've never made it to an AFA event, that would be a really good one to be your first one. So I hope I see you guys there. Jessica, as far as advice on how to get more involved, the key to that is reaching out to your local folk builder. Um, our folk builders are the tip of the spear as far as AFA activity in your local area. And if you live a little ways away, talk to them, because you'd be surprised. We have a lot of local events that go on that may be closer to you than you think. So if you reach out to your folk builder, hopefully they can also get you connected online. I know it's not the same thing, but you do get to meet a lot of AFA members through some of our Facebook groups. And it's a good chance to get your feet wet and get to know some folks. That way you'll already be ahead of the game when you do get to meet some people in person. But if you're regularly interacting with that local folk builder, hopefully they can get you somebody in person that you can meet and interact with and have some live interaction. If for some reason you don't, or that's not working out well for you, please reach out to me directly and I will do what I can to help you. Matt Flavel at runestone.org, or you can message me here on Facebook, and I'd love to see what I can do to help. Hey, Brian, what's up? Oh yeah, piety. So I talked about piety today. See, I thought we were going to ask simple questions. That's a big, deep topic for me to get to. One of the things that I mentioned to Brian, who's one of our Gothar, Brian is a Gothi, a priest in the Asatru Folk Assembly. And we talked today a little bit about piety. And the crux of the conversation was, in modern Asatru, there's been a big lack of piety and religiosity. There's been a great amount of enthusiasm for building community and for the folk and helping us get together. But oftentimes our mindset isn't taking the gods as seriously as we ought to. And that's something we've been working on, and I've seen positive movement in. One of the things that I was mentioning to Brian that I do want to touch on here with you guys, how many times have we all left bloat and, wondered how it affected the person next to us? I know myself, did I do a good job? Did everybody like it? Did these people get moved? Did it help these folks over here? And those are all really important things. But how many times have we left bloat and asked ourselves, wow, I really hope Odin liked that. Wow, I really hope the gods were pleased with what we just did here. Wow, we invoked my ancestors. I really hope that they're proud of what we did. And I'd like to see us all ask ourselves those questions more often and develop that piety a little bit. And we've been doing a great job with it. I'd just like to see us all be more conscious of it going forward, because I think that's going to be the key to our success in the short term and in the long term. So thanks for asking about that, Brian. Woden's Wolves, how widespread is that? Very wide. One of the problems that's always held people back before is us having a big enough group of the same aged kids in one area to make something really happen. And we've always kind of waited and waited on that to happen, and maybe one of these days. Well, the Distals decided to stop waiting and start doing. And so, they've brought together children from around the United States. I know a lot, in their region and surrounding regions, but it's pretty widespread. I would reach out to them, and they can get you set up if you need to know more specifics. I'm trying to take these questions in the order they come in. All right, Mark, I figured somebody's going to ask about that tonight. So the situation with being drugged through the mud by the SPLC. There's nothing you can do to please those people. They like to label other groups of people as hate groups, but I've encountered very few people more hateful than those folks. The things they say about us, the labels they put on us certainly aren't true. And if you look at their reasoning for why we're hateful, it's kind of shocking what passes as hate these days. We're not a hate group, never been a hate group. We don't got time to hate people. We're busy building, and we're busy loving our folk, loving our gods, and loving our children and what we're building. That's what we've got time for. It sucks, but that's the world we live in, and we see more and more of that these days. It's really unfortunate, and it's especially unfortunate when there's lies and misinformation involved. So yeah, that really saddens me. And it also saddens me if there's a police officer out there being persecuted for his religious preference or for, having a worldview that doesn't match today's political correctness. That's a really sad statement on where we're at as a society, and I hope that gets better. Mm-hmm. Anybody else have questions or stuff they want me to talk about tonight? It's a little bit of delay, so I'm waiting and reading the chat going on. If you guys can't tell, I got Mandy over here monitoring stuff and trying to help connect the dots and connect people that have questions. That's Mandy. Sorry, guys, I'm reading a question from Katrina here. Okay, so being a new member, does the AFA have a specific way of worship or approach to spiritual practice? Yes. Next question. No. To give you a little bit more on that, and I'd love to see more discussion on spirituality in those groups too. If any of our Gothar are out there listening, let's step up and try to do that and provide for folks, because some of us who've been at this for a long time or around don't realize how it is for somebody who's new and not quite sure how everything works yet. So, we absolutely do have a specific way of worship in what we do. I don't know how familiar you are with it already, but our two main rituals are bloat, or a feigning as some people call it, and sumbel. Bloat is when we stand in a circle outside and we're approaching the divine and giving them an offering and hoping for their blessing in return. Sumbel's a little bit different. It's more about the community, and it's typically us sitting in a circle and sharing a horn of mead and making toasts over it and bonding together by usually 3 rounds around hailing our gods, 1 towards our ancestors, and then 1 towards whatever else we may need to get off our chest, or often towards the heroes. So that's the basics of it, but I would really encourage you, and I'm not sure where you're located, but reaching out to your local Gothar would be great. I believe if you want to get with me after this, I can figure out exactly who your nearest Gothi is, and I can get you guys set up. But yeah, I'd love to help you do that. And we do need to increase our talk about spirituality in our online groups. And I'd like to start doing some of that. Hope that was helpful. Who is the folk builder for Las Vegas, Nevada? The folk builder for you right now, Mary, is Heather. So Heather Klinkenbeard is taking care of Southern California and the southern half of Nevada. So she's who you need to talk to and reach out to, and hopefully she can help our folks down in those areas get squared away. Mark, yes, I have an opinion on the academic treatments of our lore, but without something a little bit more specific, I'm not sure how to approach such a broad topic. But rest assured, I do have opinions on those things. Oh, thanks for everybody who's just joining us now. It's great to have you guys. Okay, so Wolves of Vinland. Trying to read because it's a multiple part question here. Okay. Does our organization have any affiliation with, alliance with, experience with, or thoughts on the Wolves of Vinland? We do not have an affiliation with, we do not have an alliance with. We have some experience with, and we do have some thoughts on. So I guess as far as experience goes, way back when I joined the AFA and was first getting involved, over 10 years ago now, the Wolves of Vinland were actually AFA members, or at least parts of them were. It was a very different organization back then, and the leadership structure was a little bit different. But in the very early days of me being involved with the AFA, there was a rift, and they drifted away and were no longer part of the Asatru Folk Assembly. They are a very spirited bunch, and they have a lot of enthusiasm with their rituals and the stuff that they do. And their major spokesman and their front man, if you will, Paul Wagner. I'll say this: I have a lot of respect for Paul personally. I think there's a lot of good character involved in that man, and I think that he is, as far as left-hand path practitioners, I think that he is extremely powerful and potent. He's one of the few people that takes that sort of thing and manifests it in his life as success. So I think Paul's done some really great things, and behind the scenes, he's been a real class act. Wolves themselves, our biggest problem that we have as the Asatru Folk Assembly is their embracing of chaos and a chaos aesthetic. They've done some rituals to Jormungand and forces of chaos, and the Asatru Folk Assembly is devoted to worshiping the Aesir and the gods of order. We can't serve the gods of order and then be involved with an organization that provides worship to their enemies. And I know somebody will, question the term worship, because I think a lot of the people in the Wolves are more atheistic in how they approach things like that. But regardless, we're theistic and we do believe in the gods, and we can't in good conscience support worshiping, their foes and the forces of chaos. So that's kind of where we fall with the Wolves. And there was a time there, I haven't paid a lot of attention to what they're up to lately, but there was a time where there was a lot of unseemly and what I think a lot of us refer to as degenerate things going on, as far as their shirts and the way they were presenting themselves and things that way. And it's just not an aesthetic that we approve of. But that's kind of where we're at with the Wolves. Oh, one more thing before I get off of the Wolves of Vinland. Another thing they focus on a lot is destruction. I think that both the AFA and the Wolves see a lot wrong with the world that we live in today. There's so much that's not good out there. And they talk a lot about wanting to just burn it all down and, let's live in Mad Max time. And in the Asatru Folk Assembly, instead of focusing on tearing stuff down, we want to focus on building things up. We all see things we don't like, but our focus is really on things we want to build, things we want to achieve. And and creating and not destroying. So I think that's another big fundamental difference. I'm not sure who keeps making the angry face, Brian. Yeah, I've seen the same angry face. I'm not sure who keeps hitting it, but angry folks out there, that's the world we live in these days. Oh, you're very welcome, David. I hope that was helpful, and if you got any more follow-ups or anything, I'm glad to clarify it more if I need to. All right, I'm gonna keep doing this a little bit because that's just how this is gonna work. Are there any more questions or anything that people about? Oh, there's the angry faces. Angry faces, lots of angry faces. I don't know what I said or did, but somebody's grumpy. If those of you are not seeing this in the chat room, our Gothar coordinator Blaine Qualls is letting you know that the applications for this next round of our Gothar course are up on the website, and to contact him/us if that's something you're interested in. It's demanding, it's hard, and not everybody who applies makes it through. First, not everybody who applies is accepted, and secondly, not everybody who applies makes it through. It's very difficult, but hopefully it's very rewarding to the folks that do make it through. And I know that it's very rewarding to us as a church when our folks do make it through. And over the years, people like to use the title of Gothi an awful lot, but I'm very proud that within the AFA, it doesn't get thrown around lightly. People who are ordained by the Asatru Folk Assembly as Gothar are people who've put in a lot of work, a lot of study, a lot of dedication, and I have the utmost respect for those folks. So if you're interested in that, if that's something you want to pursue, the application's up on the website, and Blaine Qualls will be your contact for it. Greetings, Eric S. Hughes. Got any more questions or anything you guys would like to hear me talk about within reason? All right, so we got dead air, so I'm going to find something to talk to you about. I'm going to go back a little bit to what Brian was talking to us about earlier. Oh, actually, I'm going to ask Mark if he's still with us. You asked me a question. It was kind of vague earlier about the scholarly treatment of I think it was our lore. If you have something more specific that you want me to answer on that, I'd be happy to. It was just so broad, I wasn't sure, where to take a stab at it. Oh, Brandy, you're leaving us so soon? I'm sorry to hear that. Thanks for coming, and I'm looking forward to talking to you at Fall Fest. Okay, so Katrina, you want to talk to us about what we're building and what goals that we're building towards? So right now, our founder, Steve McNallen, put us on this 9-year cycle of building things. And the first 3 years was awakening, and the second 3 years was empowerment. Well, the 3 years that we're in right now, the focus is on immortality. So what we're trying to build is an organization, a church that's going to outlast us, that's going to develop and grow and be a rock solid institution that our children and their children and their children's children can look to and come and honor our gods and support our folk and revere our ancestors and practice our ways. And so that's the kind of long-term goals that we're going towards. Right now, we're focusing a lot on establishing HOFs around the country and hopefully around the world, Got the first one down, and the first one's always the hardest. It's going to be easier from here. But that's one of the things. Establishing buildings and stuff in the real world, something physical that you can reach out and touch, is such an important thing to the legitimacy that others see in you, but also the legitimacy that you feel with things that you're doing. All of a sudden, you know, concepts and thoughts become real. You have an actual spot to do sacred space. One of the coolest things at Odenshof, for the longest time, if you read about how to perform Asatru rituals, when you're going to do a bloat, you have to do this hammer sign and you do this hammer rite to create sacred space. And you go around to a park or your backyard or wherever random place that, you know, as vagabonds we'd have to go to, and you create that sacred space. And you do this hammer rite. One of the coolest things is when I realized at the Hof that I don't always need to do that. We have sacred space that's permanent. And that's something that our people have wanted for so long, and we have now. So that's something we're really trying to build towards is more Hofs. Um, as far as building, we'd like to see more AFA members around the world, and that's been something that's been fantastic. Cameron Modis in New Zealand has built up Australia and New Zealand to be really thriving AFA areas, and I'm so excited for that. And then Anders and Linus have done a great job of making Scandinavia just explode within the last 13 months, maybe 14 months. They have created something amazing over there. And I'm looking forward to going and visiting those folks in May. So that's the kind of stuff we're trying to build towards right now. I heard we had a question about becoming an AFA member. The application is on our website, www.runestone.org. If you do that, I ask that you read our Declaration of Purpose and our Statement of Ethics and make sure you're on board with what we're about and what we stand for. And if you are, we'd love to have you apply for membership, and the link to apply is right there. Well, Zeke, for myself, I love taking the time to talk to you guys. I look forward to talking to my AFA family all the time. You guys are great, and I don't get to talk to you nearly as much as I'd like to. So Mark asks, and I need to start reading the questions instead of just responding to them. Like I told you, I'm new. We're working on this. But Mark is asking, we've been looking at schools of thought in academia. Do you think the academics have been a disservice to our faith in this sense? I think thinking without doing is a disservice to our faith. And I think we have for a long time, Asatru had a lot of folks that studied ancient tomes and, you know, obscure pieces of pottery and artifacts, but they wrote it from inside their homes, and they didn't get out and practice, and they didn't get out and perform bloat and get together with their folk and worship our gods. And I think that if your academics is removed from practice, that is a disservice. And I think it becomes very, very easy to purity spiral and to be destructive that way, and to pick apart everything that you feel is done incorrectly instead of spending the time to participate in the things that may really change your life and add dimension and depth and richness to our faith. And I think in that sense, academics to a large part have been a disservice. But we wouldn't know what we know, and we wouldn't be able to understand the things we do about our ancestors if we didn't have some of those academics. So I think that's too broad of a brush to paint it all with. But that's my thoughts on that. Sorry, I'm just looking over here at the questions in the chat. I apologize. Oddly enough, lots of them are for my wife, not even for me. Okay, so Spawn is asking us about what are my views on Pan-Germanic and Pan-European or even Pan-Indo-European spirituality and their congruence together. The AFA is now, has always been, and will continue to be in the future, not only Pan-European but Pan-Aryan in our approach. The Aryan family of religions all have a commonality and come from the same source and the same root. And I think that by studying different related belief structures, there's a lot that can be said for enhancing our understanding of our lore and our practice, especially here in America, where so many of us are from a number of different tribes of Europe. It's very important to keep in mind the things that are common to those European tribes and common to that shared spiritual heritage, instead of focusing too heavily on one small region or one small point in time. Because as the time recedes towards the Ice Age, our folk become much more of a cohesive unit, and that's the time where our divine really spoke to our people in a way that founded all of our faith. Ben Peterson, I've talked about this a little bit lately as far as ritual attire, collar and tie, when is historical or period attire appropriate or useful. Um, as I've said earlier, I think it's fundamentally important that when we approach the divine and we're doing something sacred, we dress like we're doing something sacred. Um, I'm wearing a shirt and tie right now. I don't typically in the evening sit around my house in a shirt and tie. But when I'm going to come on here as the Alice Harrier, go through the Asatru Folk Assembly and address my folk, it's a special occasion. It's something worth dressing for. If you guys are all going to be here asking me questions and I'm going to, pontificate on my thoughts on things, I owe it to you guys. I owe it to our gods, and I owe it to the AFA to try to look my best for it. And I think that attitude is what we should have when we approach our gods. Um, when we're literally speaking to the gods of our folk, we shouldn't be dressed with any less care than, when we go to a wedding or a family reunion or dinner with your grandparents. It's something special. We should dress for that. There's different occasions. If we're doing something out in the woods and it's a hiking thing, then of course you're wearing hiking clothes. If you're out at a camp, then you're probably going to be wearing camp out clothes. But you do the best that you can within reason, and you make sure your intentions there is to look nice for yourself, for your gods, for your ancestors, and for your folk that are there with you. Um, as far as historical, like anachronistic period clothes, if you want to be a reenactor, that's fine. There's a time and a place for that. There's reenactors all across the country, and I assume throughout the world, that reenact things, and that's cool. If as recreation you want to dress in Viking clothes and reenact, great, more power to you. That's fantastic. But it doesn't have a relationship to our faith. If in a small group of people, you and your kindred, you guys feel closer to the gods by wearing a tunic and some chainmail, that's up to you guys. But as the AFA, as a church, it's our standard to try to dress our best in modern attire that's going to be recognizable to our people, to our ancestors, and to our gods, as dressing with enough respect for what we're doing. And that's really the focus, is dressing appropriately to approach the divine. All right. Kevin Long asks, what do you recommend to folks who get hit with religious discrimination for their folkish beliefs? It is my sincere wish that I could tell you right now that if you behave a certain way, if you keep your nose clean, if you do everything right, then people are going to treat you fairly and laws are going to apply to you. I wish that I could tell you that, but it's just not true. The best we can do is maintain ourselves, how we present ourselves, and how we speak in a manner that we're proud of. You have people watching you all the time. Our beliefs are right. We're not doing anything wrong. We're not hurting anyone. And we're not going to. For an AFA standpoint, if you are discriminated against for your AFA participation, I can assure you that we're not a hate group, never been a hate group, and never will be a hate group because I make sure that we're not focusing on hate. It's not helpful. It's not constructive. And as I've talked about, our whole thing is about constructing. It's about building. Um, we have a right in this country to have a religion of our choosing and to have beliefs of our choosing. And be proud. If you know you're doing the right thing and you know that you're not hurting anybody and you're not doing anything wrong, hold your head high, stick your chest out, and be proud of yourself. We'll do anything we can to support you. And it's the world we live in. And unfortunately, the world is a much scarier place than Facebook would have you believe. It's very easy to post a Viking meme with a guy with a bloody axe and talk about courage, but there's a cost to it sometimes in the real world. And I'm really sad that anybody has to pay that cost. But courage is valuable, and it's what separates the heroes from folks that we'll never know their names. So hold your head up, keep doing what you're doing, make sure that you're acting right, and that's the best and the only thing you can do. I do not have wings. It is a goat hide that law speaker Alan Turnage gifted me a number of years ago. It's comfy, but it is kind of funny looking. I'll give you that. Mark, modernized vestment. Depends on what it looks like. We've talked about that for a while and wondering what that would look like. I'm not opposed to it. Again, I'd want it to look formal. I'd want it to look respectful and, something we can all be proud of and something that's not silly looking. Not really sure what that is yet. If I was, probably I'd wear one. So if you've got ideas on that, reach out and let us know. Mary, it would be way cooler if it was a bear skin, but unfortunately it's not. Jessica, discrimination within our own families for being folkish. That's hard. It's especially hard when we're such a family-oriented faith. Best thing that I can say is stand for what you believe in, but don't be a jerk about it. So often we get so much of this liberal nonsense shoved down our throat in the world we live in that we just want to take a stand and we always want to be hard about it, especially with your families. Don't. They're your family. Try to tell them with the best of who you are why you believe what you believe, and leave any of the frustration that others have put in your way. Leave that aside when you do. If it's what you believe in, and it's if you believe in what the Asatru Folk Assembly believes in, then it's something you should be proud of. It's not ever something you should be ashamed of. And it's something you should be able to articulate to your family members in a loving way, and in a way they're going to recognize that, if they know that their daughter is a good person and how she lives is right and she cares about other people and she does the right thing, then hopefully you'll be able to communicate to your family in a way that they'll understand where you're coming from, or at least that you're not some kind of a monster. And like I said, one of the other things is, and I can't overstate this, don't ever start apologizing or equivocating for stuff that you believe in. Apologize when you do something wrong, but don't ever apologize when you're doing something right. If you stand proud for what you believe in, you have a much better chance of people taking it and accepting it than if you act like you're doing something wrong, because we're not. So don't ever feel like you have to act that way. I hope that helps. Some people joining. Hey, Chancey. All right. That was a good little run there. Does anybody else have anything they want me to talk about tonight, or that they'd like to ask? Any of our new people, maybe? Those of you just joining us, just because there's some dead air and it's something to do, I'm going to plug Ostara again for the people that didn't hear it the first two times. Ostara in March in North Carolina, 22nd through the 24th. It's going to be great. We're going to have our Upper South people there. We're going to have our Deep South people coming up. We're going to have people from the Northeast and New England coming down for it. Mandy and I will be there. If you can make it, it's well worth it. We're looking forward to seeing y'all there. I hope that you guys can. I hope that you guys show up. And I'm looking forward to having, this same kind of conversation, but sitting around a fire, drinking some mead and enjoying your company in real life. I'm sorry if you guys are hearing that ping. Somebody's blowing me up on Facebook, and I can't look at it while I'm doing this live.
How's the food truck going?
I suppose that's a good problem to have, not even knowing what you don't know. There you go. How's the food drive going? Asked Victor. Food drive's going fantastic, and thanks in large part to you, Victor, and your volunteering and helping out. That's something I'm not sure if everybody here is aware of. This last summer, there's always been big, I'm sure you guys on the news have heard about the fires in California, but there was a fire in the town Brownsville where our Hoff is located that burned down the local gas station / drugstore to where people were buying a lot of their groceries in the town. Those of you who may not be aware of it, it's a very economically depressed little town. It's one of the reasons we were able to get a really good deal on the Hoff there. But the folks there are really, really struggling. But the food bank reached out to us to see if we wanted to help them with distributing food to the people of Brownsville. And we were so excited to get the opportunity. And since then, they've been absolutely great working with us. That happened in June. And every month on the first Saturday of the month, AFA members have been out there volunteering and giving food to people who really, really need it and very much appreciate it. You see cars rolling up there held together by duct tape with 4 people in them because that's all they could take to carpool up there to get food. So it really is impactful on these people's lives. Every month we're feeding, with the help of the food bank, we're able to feed well over 100 individuals and just about 100 families total. So it's been a really, really nice thing. And recently, a local group of Cub Scouts has been helping us out also. And so we really appreciate that.
It's hold on for good, same goddess. Coming into the messenger.
Sorry for the close up there. I was leaning in to read my message. Okay, cool. Yes, that was a typo. All right. Can those who are new to Asatru and not yet members of the AFA be welcomed to any events? Yes, conditionally. If you're not an AFA member, because we try to vet people, when we have these events, we have families there, we have ladies, we have children. We want to make sure that people are protected and safe. So if you want to come to an AFA event, reach out to your local folk builder and start up a conversation with them. You don't have to be an AFA member necessarily, but they do have to vouch for you and it'd be okay. So if you want to come to one of these events, reach out to your local folk builder. They'll try to get you all set up, and we would love to see you at one of them. One of these events may be the thing that seals the deal and makes you want to join. A lot of posts regarding health and wellness within the AFA. Any thoughts on the driving force? Our faith has always been a holistic one that should encompass all of a person and all of a person's life. For instance, you're not just Asatru when you're at Bloat or when you're at the Hoff. You're Asatru when you're at work. You're Asatru when you're sitting around at home with your family. You're Asatru when you go, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you should be living out our faith. And one of the things is trying to be the very best you can be. That was always very important to our ancestors. It's very important to us now. And I talked earlier about things that we're trying to build. Matter of fact, you asked me a question about stuff that we were trying to build and construct. The easiest thing that you can build is yourself. We see all these things around that we want to fix and take care of. And yes, please do those things. But the most simple and easiest thing you can do is take charge of your own life, your own health, your own body, your own fitness and wellness, and try to make that more to something that you like. Make that to the best it can be. One of the things I dearly believe within the AFA that we need to strive for is always being better. Tomorrow, I want to be a little bit stronger, a little bit faster, a little bit smarter, a little bit, a little bit better husband, a little bit better Alzheimer Gothi. And I want to do that every single day. And I think that if we all try to do that, we'd all be surprised at what that stacks up into. So that's kind of the driving force behind our pushing towards wellness and fitness. In our culture, certainly in the United States in general, obesity is a big problem. All kind of health things coming with our modern lifestyle and just the world we live in today is difficult. So it's really important that we encourage each other to get better, to get stronger, to get in better shape, to look better, to feel better. And by doing that, hopefully, one of the reasons we talk about it so much on AFA Facebook media is so we can build from each other's strengths. So I can see and be encouraged by what you're doing. So maybe you can see and be encouraged by what I or what somebody else is doing. So that's really important to us. And so far, that's been doing great. I'm really proud of how that's taken off. And we've got a lot of people that have made a lot of really good changes in their life. I appreciate David. I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you extending me that courtesy. Maybe one of these days, if I'm not feeling good, I'll take you up on it. But hopefully, I'm not in that bad a shape. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about tonight? Almost gone an hour here, but if you guys got more that you want to talk about or anything else you want to ask, we'll keep doing it. I think this has been fun. When this is all done and over, let me know, send me a message, let me know if this was something cool, and we can keep doing these regularly because I enjoy talking to you guys. And I think this is a really good format to be able to do that. Oh, there's another angry face. I didn't even say it. Are you angry because I'm going to stop talking here shortly? I don't blame you. I'll be angry for that too. Hail the AFA indeed, Kevin. Looking forward to seeing you too in not too long. Well, I've harped on you guys about most of the stuff I was going to talk to you about. Last chance. Do we have any more questions tonight? Oh, hey, Don, you're coming in on the tail end here, but we got a couple of people coming in on the tail end. Any of the new guys? Looks like we got 3 folks that just came in. Do you guys have any questions or anything you wanted to hear me talk about tonight? Because I was fixing to wrap up, but I'd be more than happy to stay on and answer anything you guys might have. Let me give you guys a couple seconds to post up something for me. The little faces and emoji things popping up is kind of fun to see. There are some angry faces, but there's a lot more of the hearts, and I appreciate that. Upcoming days of remembrance. Yes, there are. And if you haven't gone to our store, I would suggest that you go there and you purchase this beautiful AFA calendar. If you take a look in February on our calendar, it's got the day of remembrance for Ivan King Riffy coming up on the 9th. He's one of the martyrs that was tortured because he wouldn't give up his faith in Asatru. He had a brazier with burning coals in it put on his belly until his guts exploded for his faith in our gods. So we talk about persecution today if you have it rough because, some commies are yelling at you names you don't like. This guy went to his death to support our gods. So we're going to be thankful for that. We're going to honor him here in a couple of days. Also, if you go to our website, we do have Days of Remembrance there, so we can help you out, Stephen, if you've got questions on that, on the upcoming ones. Devin, about the new Hoff. We have, but I'll do it again. We are so fortunate because we've been able to pay off Odenshoff that now we are looking, we are planning, and we are trying to build a little bit of a war chest to put down on a down payment for that second Hoff. Getting closer all the time. I think it's something that we're closer than anybody really thinks on being able to establish that. So yeah, we're definitely looking into that. We're also raising funds for that also. So if anybody wants to see that happen and wants to put some money towards it, we'd really appreciate it. Again, www.runestone.org. And if you go to the donate section, it'll have a link there for you to donate towards that Hoff. Everything's appreciated. And the faster we can raise funds, the faster we're going to have that second Hoff. See a lot of little hearts for that one. And I don't know how to do one myself, or I'd pop one up there. I'm really excited about it. Is there a way for us distant folk to be supportive outside of monetary means? Yes, Ryan, but it all would depend on your skill set. If you're not on our volunteer Facebook group, get with your folk builder and he can get you set up on it. We do have volunteer services that we need. A lot of them lately are technical things and like e-publishing and digital artwork and stuff. But yeah, there's always ways to help at a distance. Money helps, but there's plenty of other ways that you can help us do what we're doing. And your local folk builder can get you more dialed in on what specific we need. And you can talk to him a little bit about what you can offer and how we can put it in. But thanks for stepping up and volunteering and wanting to help out. That's awesome. That's the only way we can get done what we get done. My thoughts on Glima. I don't know a lot about it being modernly practiced. I've heard from some people lately that there's some good schools out there that teach it and that a couple of different styles of it, actually. Sean Sandin was talking to me about that recently. But I got to say, I don't know much about modern Glima. Zeke, what are we doing to coordinate education of AFA children with, i.e. the Votan's Wolves? Not much right now, unfortunately. That's another thing we've talked about a lot and we'd really like to see done. I know we have a lot of AFA parents that do homeschool their children. And one thing we've talked about within the Gothar is figuring out ways to help provide materials to make that happen and to do more towards, coordinating our efforts to educate kids. And certainly Votan's Wolf is taking a lead in that. We talked about that at the beginning of the program a lot. If anybody's interested in that, contact Cole and Tiffany Distel. They're doing a great job setting that up and making that go. And it's much appreciated. But yeah, I imagine we're going to do a lot more with coordinating education in the coming years. What advice do I have about reaching out for future members and potential kindred formation? There's been a thing, and now it's true for a long time, about don't proselytize, don't advertise. I'm not with that. Go out there. If there are folk, bring them home. If you have influence and there's people that you can, talk to and bring them back to the faith in our ancestral gods, do so. Don't feel like you need to hold back. Don't hold to the old way of thinking of not proselytizing. Go out there, let it be known, bring people in. If they're the kind of folk that are worthwhile, if they're honorable people, and if there are people, bring them in. We'd like to see all of our people come home. As far as kindred formations, so proud of our kindred program, and it's doing great. It's amazing to see all of the flags of our different AFA kindreds at Odenshoff. I would encourage anyone out there who's got some kindred members that aren't AFA members. If you want to become an AFA kindred, ask those guys why. If they're not an AFA member, ask them why. Is it because they legitimately, they don't believe in what we're doing, or is it just because they haven't thought about it? That I have no idea what the reason is. But ask and let's find out. If it's a good one, then it is what it is. But if it's something we can fix or it's something we can do to help them, then I'd like to know that too. So yeah, I'd encourage for as far as formations of kindreds, if you're part of a kindred or you're going to form one, and the folks out there that you're associated with aren't in the AFA, ask them why and let's figure it out. And if this is a place they should be, then let's bring them in. And if it's not, then it's not. But yeah. Topic of piety, is that something that me or Brian will discuss in the future? Yes, both. I guarantee it's something Brian's going to talk about and something that I am going to talk about increasingly as we go forward. Both piety and how we practice in a group at Bloat and at Sumble, but also piety and how we handle things in our home as far as hearth cult situations and our home altars and just living life in a more pious way and taking that part of our faith more seriously. It's absolutely something we're going to talk about more in the future. Don, I would prefer that you do not pillage your way through the door because we got some beautiful wood doors that Jessica Rose helped make. Instead, contact her. Contact the folk builder out in California. We can get somebody up there to show you the Hoff. It's not open all the time because we don't have membership that lives super close. So if you want to call ahead and arrange, we'd be happy to get somebody out there that can show you around and let you see what's going on. Or better yet, if you arrange with them, you can make it to where you come when we have one of our gatherings there, because we'd love to see you out there. All right, guys.
Is the AFA in Australia? Someone's asking.
Okay, we're getting a question through the ether. Is the AFA in Australia? Yes. Cameron Modis is our folk builder for that region. He lives in New Zealand, but he travels to Australia often, and he's put in a lot of effort with those folks over there. I heard about a kindred that just formed in Australia, and Cameron can get you hooked up with a lot of folks over there. We have a thriving community that's building and growing, and the enthusiasm is getting better all the time. So if you live in Australia and you want to find out, C Modtus, CMOTTUS at runestone.org, and Cameron would love to help you out with that.
Does the AFA perform hand fastings at weddings?
Well, good, Don. We'd love to see you out there. We gather at the Hoff at least once a month for ritual, but we also go out there once a month for our food drive as well. So at the very minimum, folks are out there twice. Oh, thank you, Cameron, for posting your contact information. Whoever just asked the question, if you look in the chat, Cameron just told you how to get a hold of him. And you can see his little name there. You can probably get a hold of him on Facebook too, and I'm sure he'd love to help you. Okay, coming in from somewhere, we got a question about, does the AFA perform hand fasting or weddings? We absolutely do perform weddings. I was very honored to do a wedding just 2 weeks ago now. And it was a very special thing to do. So our Gothar do absolutely perform weddings. And they are legal in your state where you're at. You just got to let us know ahead of time because every state's different on the rules on that in case there's any paperwork to get filled out. But that's one of our favorite things to do. That's my favorite thing to do is weddings and baby namings. I love doing those. So yeah, we absolutely do perform weddings. All right, guys, we got anything else or I'm going to call it a wrap?
Or Hulda and forgive the same goddess.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. I appreciate your questions. I appreciate all your little hearts and thumbs up and even the little angry faces. Thank you guys so much for being here. It was really nice to talk to you. Give me some feedback afterwards if this is something you like and we can do it more often. I've had a really good night. I've enjoyed it. It's been great to talk to you guys. Y'all have a good night. Hail the gods, hail the folk, hail the AFA. Hold on, bear with me. It gives me this strange option here. Gives me the option to save or not.
Yeah, save it.
No, it doesn't tell me that.
Yeah.